Yo, what's going on? What's going on? It's your boy, Pen Game James, your host for our podcast, and welcome to our podcast, Vibes at the Table Podcast. My other two co-hosts, Surfer McFly and Supple and Craig Sporeg, will not be joining me today. Craig might pop in today, just run a little bit late. You know what I mean? But welcome to the Vibes at the Table Podcast, where we talk about poetry and music, and and artistry. You know what I mean? For those who follow us on our Facebook and Instagram and TikTok and YouTube, check us out. We have poem challenges each and every weekend, so check us out. And to send your poems to us so we can post them, hit us up on our Gmail, poeticvibesent@gmail.com. So today, we got a special treat for y'all. We have a second of our Behind the Pen interviews. We interview poets and authors and writers. And today, I got somebody really, really special. The first time I saw this young man, was at a poetry reading. It was a poetry reading. And he had a poem called Curvaceous. And I'm telling you, all the women went crazy over this. You know what I mean? And on top of that, he sings, add to his repertoire. But so, without further ado, coming to the stage, we got Lone Wolf. Lone Wolf, what's good, man?
What's good? What's good? I appreciate being invited and everything else. I appreciate the invitation.
No problem, man. No problem, man. I've been seeing your work, and me and the team just feel like, it was about time that we, have you up on our platform, man, and just we thank you for taking time out to come and join us.
Hey, man, I appreciate it. I appreciate the appreciation, man. It's good to be here.
Facts, for sure. So let's dive into it. All right, so Lone Wolf. How did you get the name Lone Wolf?
Man, it was definitely something I kind of that came a little bit out of pain, but it also came out of a lot of things where I was a solo artist for a lot of, my writing, singing life. And so I've always done things on my own, so I've always considered myself a lone wolf. I've always felt like I stood out in different ways, so I've always considered myself a lone wolf. Back in 2020, I was going through a lot of different changes in life. Some painful things and traumatic things, and that also where Lone Wolf kind of stemmed from as well, feeling that isolation alone. But now I've turned it into something a lot more positive.
Right.
At first, that's exactly how it kind of started, but then I turned it into a lot of more positivity.
Okay, interesting. And later on, we're definitely going to get into it, man. You know what I mean? So tell everybody where you're from and how has your city influenced your poetry.
Well, first of all, I'm from Cincinnati, Ohio, and man, how has my city influenced my poetry? The way that I write about things that I kind of witness every day. Just from friend circle to work life, on the news, crime life, things of that sort. I've kind of just absorbed everything that's around me. I've been very cognizant of everything that's around me. And so I kind of just, write almost like a reporter, except through poetry. And then on top of that, I like to also inspire the people that's around me as well. So, my city is full of inspiration as well too. You can go downtown, you'll see a whole bunch of art and things, and you can see a lot of artistry within the city as well. So it's always been an influence and interchange of influence with me in the city and vice versa.
Okay, interesting. I was just on an interview with Coco Weaponry. Shout out to Coco Weaponry. And she also says she's from Ohio. So what I've been hearing that Ohio is a very interesting city when it comes to art. So I don't know. I may have to take a trip up there one day. But
For sure, man. It's
right.
definitely was German based So, which is
Okay.
crazy. So it's German based, but then you have a lot of the urban. So it's like, well, it's definitely a diverse state. It's a
That's
little
what's
bit of
up.
everything here.
That's what's up. That's what's up, man. You know what I mean? And I think like each and every city has its own like little style of things. You know what I mean? Especially when it comes to art. You know what I mean? So it's like if you're into poetry or spoken word, live in city like Ohio or like New York, Chicago, down south, like you could definitely find that inspiration and it like comes out in your art.
Absolutely, absolutely, man. It's so much inspiration around. It isn't hard to find inspiration here at all, at all.
Okay. Okay, that's what's up. That's what's up. So and I gotta talk about this. Curvaceous. I mean, the
Yeah.
first time I saw that, bro, I mean, like, of course I laughed, but then just, listen to the crowd just loving the poem and the women who like fit the description. Love the poem
Yeah.
as well. You know what I mean? So like tell us, man, like what was the inspiration behind Curvaceous?
Um, Man, so it was me and a friend. We was actually having a conversation about this, and it was actually stemming from like a deep conversation of body shaming and this and that and the third. And I've always been comfortable to talk about that with males or females simply because I'm a big advocate of it. Don't matter how you look, this and that and the third, man. Just embrace yourself and spread the positivity. Well, we kind of got on that topic as well.
Okay.
And so,
Okay.
once it kind of got to that topic, and then we were just kind of like, we was talking it up, talking it up, talking it up. And I was like, you know what? I think it would be dope if I actually wrote something about it.
Okay.
And at first, I had no intentions of sharing it.
Oh, okay.
Zero intentions
Right.
because I was like, I don't know how people gonna take it. If they're gonna take it, if I'm making fun of a situation,
Right.
or it's certain bodies that I was like, I don't want to do that. But I shared it with them. They loved it. I shared it with a few others, kind of like just kind of easing it out there, and then eventually, I presented it to Coco. Coco Weaponry, and she was like, you should share this. And I was thinking, maybe probably not in front of a crowd. But I thought about it. And I was like, because I was like, man, I don't know. This is the first time I'm performing in person in front of
Right.
people in a long time. And I was like, everybody's about to come from my neck as soon as this don't come across well. But I did it anyway. She encouraged it. She shared it with her sister. They encouraged it. So I decided to perform it, and it became one of the better pieces that's ever been received that I've ever written. So I was really happy about that. Yeah, like that was one of those ones where I've never had people request too many pieces from me.
Right.
But that one I've had people request consistently.
Get out of here.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
And you know what though? Like knowing someone like Coco, like I felt like if I was there, she would like automatically had said yes because of her personality. Like she's all about like freedom of speech and like those are her poems when it's done in a clean way. You know what I mean? Like she's like all for it. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So like I'm not too surprised that Coco was pushing for that poem. You know what I mean? And like from like what I saw, bro, all the women who were in the description really appreciate that poem. You know what I mean? Like now, like me myself, I've wrote poems like that in the past, and it's like really refreshing to see how much of a poem makes a difference to a certain demographic of audiences. You know what I mean? But like,
I was gonna say too, I was gonna say on top of that, I actually did it because a lot of brothers won't admit that, right?
True.
They won't admit it. So I wrote it for both sides, the guys that won't admit it and the women who fit the description.
Right.
And that way it could be an interchange of a connection. Like there are some people that actually thinks like this and actually okay with what you look like and totally fine with embracing that,
And that's the thing too, like when like with poems like that, you don't know who you're affecting in a positive way when it comes to that. You know what I mean? Especially like nowadays when when you look at social media and what have you, the images that we see, they push on us. And it's and like for women, it's this constant, body that, the entertainment world says to women that they have to have. You know what I mean? And it's just, refreshing for someone to like come out in the form of entertainment, such as poetry or spoken word, to say, hey, look, I like this. This is not the norm, but I like it and I love it. You know what I mean? It takes bravery to go against the machine, so to speak.
Yeah, absolutely, man. And and most of all, too, when you write something like that from a guy's perspective, it hits different. When women write about it for other women, don't get me wrong, it's absolutely still just as powerful.
True.
But sometimes when women hear from guys where they're not used to hearing it from a certain source, that still hits different. It's almost like when your parents tell you something, it don't hit you as much, but when somebody else happened to tell you the same thing your parents told you, and it somehow hits different.
Yeah, exactly. Right.
It's kind of like that. It's kind of like that. Women can say it all day long, and sometimes it don't really hit.
Right.
But you hear a guy say that, and they're like, wait, guys think like that? Yeah, that totally hits a little different there.
For sure, man, for sure. You know what I mean? So, who are fan of poetry, go and check out this man's page on Instagram. He has the poem Courageous on there. You know what I mean? So check it out. Facts.
Yes, sir. Please check it out and share it if you need to.
So the next question I have for you is, describe your style of poetry. How would you describe your style of poetry?
Oh, that's a good question.
Okay.
Because I remember this was a conversation from way back when. I describe myself as, because I have a background with battle rap when I used to grow up on.
Okay.
So
Same here.
Some parts is like battle poet, almost like for me.
Gotcha. Okay.
So a lot of times you hear things like bars and things like that. It's that's who I am. It's like almost that battle stage, but it's at the same time, I like to think of myself as just a realist and a storyteller. I don't really have, like, some people have those really super creative ways of going about it. And I was telling somebody this, I was like, I don't have that type of poetry where you're trying to guess and find out what it is from the beginning to the end. I'm the type of person, I'm straightforward about the subject. And I'm like, hey, this is what I'm going to talk about today. And then I proceed to write about it. So,
okay.
It's kind of hard for me, but I think I'm just very straightforward, very expressive, almost like a battle poet and just kind of like a storyteller, kind of like that.
Okay. So like, and this is a question that I just want to ask you when it comes to that. When it comes to performing, and at times you may perform with someone who does spoken word or poetry with profanity. So you as a poet who doesn't use profanity, how much of a challenge is it to perform on stages where poets use profanity? Maybe like it could be like 2 or 3 curse words, but someone else may use a lot, but you use none. How is that a challenge for you?
You know what? I've never really found a challenge in that.
Oh, okay.
Reason why is, even though I grew up on battle rap, which we all know good and well that it ain't the cleanest.
Yeah, true. That's true. Absolutely.
But household, how I was raised, this and then third, it's just like, hey, listen, we don't talk like that in this house.
Right.
It was like that. So for me, learning how to express myself without that use was ingrained in me since like 4 or 5 years old.
Okay.
So I never found a way to have to translate it in my head and be like, how do I do this or how do I do this? Like, no, this is how I express. That's just who I am.
That's what's up. And you know what though, like, I would say like that was my challenge at first as well. You know what I mean? Yeah. It's like, how do I talk about something when it has this much, when someone else has this much, when somebody else, has this much, vulgarity in their art, and I don't. You know what I mean? But I've heard, rap songs that talk about, how rough of a city they lived in without the profanity. So it's like it can be done. It's just that the difference is that like you have like those who want to hear the profanity. You know what I mean? But like you introduce that same content without the profanity. You know what I mean? It hits different. You know what I mean? Like oh, he talked about the streets, but without the cursing in it, or like he was singing about this and he had to say this and the third. You know what I mean? So like it takes bravery, to just like go up there and say, hey, this is me. I don't care what the next person is doing. I'm just going to do me.
Yeah. Yeah. No use of the vulgarity has increased my use of vocabulary, right?
That's what's up. Okay. I like that.
So I would say, so when I can't express it like that, or when I wasn't allowed to, or whatever, in my house or whatever, it taught me to say, hey, how can I express this in a different way without it being vulgar? Well, now I got to use a dictionary. Well, now I got to do this, and now I got to listen. So if anything, it just pushed my vocabulary to be better and deeper. Just allowing me to still express with the same emphasis as the next person who may use vulgarity.
Okay, that's what's up. That's what's up, man. Another question I have for you.
Yeah. As
a man and or poet, how do you find the strength to express your hurt? You know what I mean? Because we live in this society now where like a man expressing himself, whether it's heartache or him not having his father around, not having a stable home, he's expressing how hurt he is behind that, and how nowadays a man doing that seems, soft to a certain group of people. You know what I mean? So,
yeah.
And so like how do you as a young man find the strength or the bravery to express your pain in this art form?
First and foremost, my dad made it a safe haven.
That's what's
for
up.
me when I was younger. Especially when I went through a lot, and this is just the short end of that story. But of course, I was adopted, so I lost my biological mother and father long time ago. So hurt and pain was all I kind of grew up on. And my adoptive mother and father, they took control of that situation and allowing me to express that hurt without feeling guilt. And I think that's extremely important. And then as I got older, they helped me to see what society feels about guys expressing, but how they don't agree with that. And they wanted me to continue to express. I always say that has been so pivotal for me, because my poetry wouldn't be where it is without that ability and freedom to express then. They allowed me to express then. The art form came way after all this. The ability to express at first was so limited, and the art form was created from that hurt. But I would have never had the ability to tap into this art form without their approval of being able to express what I felt, and not to feel judged, not to feel pushed or rushed into it. They allowed me to just be me. And when I found that within poetry as well, it was easy to translate the two at that point.
Okay.
It's almost as if I've been doing it my entire life, even though I had just started writing poetry relatively early teens.
Oh, okay. That's what's up, man. And like as we're, talking about this, seeing young men going through this, right? Young men in this day and age going through, this battle of expressing themselves, is definitely, a battle. I remember one time I was talking to a old coworker of mine, and now he's young. He was like 23 at the time, and he was just saying how like, him growing up just in a single parent household with just like him and his older sisters. Like he really saw the negatives of what a woman can do, making a man feel bad about expressing themselves, how, they treat those guys who express themselves. And he said to me that, that really had messed him up mentally, because like now how he treats women, he don't really express, himself the way that he wants to because of fear of being judged.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So I want to, hear from you, like, being young in this day and age, how important is it for a young man to have to develop the sense of expressing himself, being vulnerable? How important is that?
Man, it's extremely important. It's extremely important. It's actually, it's one of the most important things, right? Because expression doesn't just affect you, it affects the people around you.
Indeed.
If you hold on to certain things, hurt, pain, disgust, sadness, depression, right? You end up inevitably hurting the people that love you because you can't express it properly. Usually, you see things in statistics where men grow violent or men commit suicide. It's either one end or the other end of the spectrum,
True.
right? Because none of the emotions that they feel are channeled properly because they haven't allowed themselves to express it, or they felt like they didn't have any safe haven. They felt like they had no one to speak to. So when that happens, everything around their world is now affected, from the people that they love to the people they're just acquainted with to the love of themselves. Everything becomes affected. So it's extremely important that guys really open up and take advantage of any opportunity that they have to feel like they can express, because it really saves them in the end. We understand, what the world may think of guys who express or maybe shed a tear or maybe express a depressing thought.
Right.
But by the end of the day, I would rather see you alive expressing your thought than to see the result of your thoughts because you didn't express them.
That makes sense. That definitely makes sense, man. Because I remember reading something in the newspaper, and it talked about that. It talked about the suicide rate amongst men, and it's not a low number. You know what I mean? A few months ago, I've heard of this young man who jumped off of a bridge, and his friends was like trying to stop him. Now, like, they didn't get into detail on like what happened, but it's just, but just to hear it, somebody young going through that, you know what I mean? Like, I was thinking about, like, where would I be if I didn't have the type of therapist that I had? Where would I be if I didn't have the type of friends that I have, the mentors that I had? Like, what would happen to me if I didn't know how to challenge my sadness or my anger? If it wasn't for like poetry or my spirituality, like, where would I be at if I didn't have that? And when you look at what's going on today, folks like myself could have been one of these guys who either, become violent or could have taken his own life.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So it's like stuff like this, expressing yourself through art form is, very important. And even if you can't do it, I just think expressing yourself, period, and your feelings and your anger is so important for a young man to learn how to do that in a positive way. You know what I mean?
Yes, absolutely. It's essential, man, because again, like you, there's times where there's pockets and moments in life where I also still didn't feel like I had the ability to express. And I know where my mind was once I got there. It wasn't the greatest. I was irrational. And you think about when you was talking about that boy that was on the bridge, think about what it took, how much it took for him to hold on to that particular thought to the point where he thought that the bridge was the only answer.
Exactly, right.
Like, how long and how hard and, how much you had to fight that emotion just for that to be your end result.
Exactly. I mean, like, when I heard about that, like, it definitely brought me back to, like, when I was young and I had those thoughts. You know what I'm saying? Like, it's a very eerie and a very scary place to be at.
For sure.
You know what I
For
mean?
sure.
Not to get off topic, but like my co-host came with like one of my co-hosts came today. Craig Superway just said chimed in. What's up, man?
What's going on, fellas?
Going on?
What's up? What's going on? What's going on? How you
And you're
doing?
late.
Yeah, I'm late.
Yep.
But nah, man, definitely glad to have you on the show, man. Of course, I had some issues I had to take care of, but I'm on. So, welcome.
Hey, appreciate it.
For sure.
So since you had just said chimed in, so like I definitely want to see your thoughts on this. I was we was talking about how it's so important for young men today to find vices to express themselves in a positive way. Like Lone Wolf was saying that like some young men don't have those positive ways to express themselves. They either become violent or they take their own lives. You know what I mean? So from your perspective, Craig, like how important is it for a young man to have positive vices for him to express his hurt?
I think it's super important. Very important. But to be able to have that opportunity, the young man has to be able to know that he has people to support him. He has to know that the support is there. To me, when a person doesn't feel like the support is there, then they turn to things that are not positive to let out what their hurt is. And of course, and you look to people who are the closest to you. So your family, your friends, you look for those people first to be there for you. And sometimes they're those same individuals who don't give you that result right away. Some of them may think that what you're going through is really not as bad. They kind of might minimize for reasons of not knowing, not understanding, and then just plain ignorance in terms of being misinformed. And so, but a young man needs to have a vice. A lot of times I've seen young men, and then when I was coming up, we got into sports. Sometimes our parents would put us in sports teams and put us in after school programs and all those type of things just to kind of give us that opportunity. So when we would go through something like this, we turn to those things as positive outlets. For me, I would just say dealing with my own personal life as far as my son and everything, losing him and things like that. I poured myself into poetry more and getting back to really bringing out some new pieces and bringing in some new heat. Because at the end of the day, that's an outlet that I use as positive to help me. And then at the same time, just staying busy. But as a young man, it's hard. Like you want to make sure that you are into the right things because you're going to lose that young man to the streets or worse. When they don't have that support and when they are down on their fortune, if you will. And with the way social media is right now, in fact, I was just coming across some articles about how now they might restrict social media access to a certain age requirement.
That makes sense.
Because of how it's linked to depression and cyberbullying and other things. So I'm hearing just around, just little rumors that they may cut it down to people who might be, you have to be at least 13 to have a social media account or whatever.
Right.
But the cyberbullying is happening with teenagers.
Definitely is.
So I don't see how it's going to work. But like I said, bring it full circle. In order for a young man to have the ability to use a vice or to obtain a vice, he's got to have support first. And he has to know where that support is. Without that foundation, you're dead. There's no way. Or it's 10 times harder to find the vice. And if you're a fatherless boy and didn't have your father, like I did, you got to have somebody who's a father figure or mentor. And if you don't have that, that's even hard.
Yeah.
Definitely. You know what I mean? I definitely appreciate your thoughts on that. So, you know what I mean? So, let's get to the question. So I also noticed that you sing as well. So my next question is like how did you get into singing? What made you want to sing?
Singing was actually the first love.
Okay.
Singing actually came. I would say singing was kind of just something that was a gift because that was just given to me. I didn't really work for that one. That one, and I didn't even realize that until my brother was like, listen to me singing along with him one time, and he just kind of gave me a double take, like, "Wait, you sing?" and it kind of went there, and that was around the age of about 6 or 7. So that was kind of like my first love. My dad he always sung. My brother was singing. He was like the wedding singer, the anniversary singer, the karaoke singer.
Okay.
So he was everywhere, and he was known for singing. And I kind of just followed in his footsteps as the little brother, and was like, "Hey, I like singing too." And he would like pull me everywhere. When I tell you everywhere, "Hey, look, guys, my little brother can sing," and he'll just plop me in the middle, in front of people, and like, "Hey, sing," and I'm like, "Okay, here we are." So, but eventually, I love singing, especially old school ballads and stuff like that, Motown, all that stuff. That's what I grew up on.
That's what's up.
And that really got me into singing, hearing all of those various styles and things back then. So yeah, singing has always been there.
Okay, cool.
So your older brother was Jimmy Ruffin and you were David.
Look, okay, that's exactly what happened there. Like,
that's exactly what Jimmy did to David.
Yep, so did. Yep. That's what's up, though.
No, man, that's good stuff, man. I think that's awesome. That you do that. That's pretty cool.
Indeed. So, and as an artist, I definitely want to ask, or hear your perspective on this question. Does it matter how many people are watching you? I mean, as far as you post your work on social media, does it matter how many likes you get? Does it matter how many views you're getting? So you as an artist, does that matter to you?
No, right? At one point in time, way back when, I used to be like, man, maybe nobody likes me. But as I kind of, that was a very, very short stint in my life. But I've always done it just because the love of the game, just the love of the art, right? And so I found that the more I did it for just the love of the art, the more the attention actually came to me. Rather than when I was trying to do it and be like, "Hey guys, look what I can do."
That's what's up. Okay.
It changed. It kind of flipped there for a second. It was like a very short stint. But for me right now, it's like, I don't care if I get 1 like, 1,000 likes. I don't care. I do this because this is who I am. I am a poet. I embody poetry. Poetry is in my DNA. And whatever art that I decide to get into, that's what's in my DNA for the day. That's what's getting expressed.
That's what's up, man. And what I've noticed this too is that, some artists, they actually pay for views.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, and that had blew my mind. Like, some artists, because they want to get known so much, like, they'll pay somebody to have like 100, 1,000 people like view you and make it seem like you're more popular than what you really are. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And see, that's why I appreciate the artists that I had looked up to in my era, because like before social media, they had to actually build their audience. They had to go places and perform, and had to it had to be their art had to be word of mouth.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? So like they have Facebook, YouTube, and Instagram back in the 90s. You know what I'm saying? It's like they had to perform whatever. So like with now, I mean, even though social media is a good outlet to get your stuff out there, still I think some of us as artists rely too much on it. To make it seem like if we don't have, 1K views or more, we're not entertaining. You know what I mean?
I want to speak to that real quick.
Oh yeah, go ahead, correct.
Just real quick. 2 things I wanted to say to that.
All right. Mm-hmm.
The first thing I wanted to say is that when you talk about like touring and stuff like that back, when you didn't have social media, the other thing too were the videos.
Yeah.
True.
So
I
you had
forgot about
videos
that.
coming out,
True.
you were dropping videos. That's how you got your fan base, and you were dropping them. You made TV show appearances. You
Yep.
made different appearances on certain networks because
Which was not
that
easy.
was also like the press was also part of the marketing aspect, which
True.
still
Very
lives
true.
today. But at the end of the day, press was more of a bigger deal.
It was more prevalent.
So when you look at how much it's changed drastically. And so now you have artists who can get on their social media platforms and promote their music and do whatever things they want to do. We now have this whole thing with verses and everything else where you can, basically bring back the old jams and, compete that way. That gets views. But the one thing I wanted to say about, relying on views, it made me think about what I thought about the other day.
Okay.
And that was never to look for other people, look for validation from other people. Because
I know you posted that.
One of the things I learned is that, for example, when you have a parking ticket and you get it validated, that validation makes the parking cheaper. So when you look for validation from other people, you're discounting yourself because you're looking for them to tell you what your value is when you don't need them to do that. And so therefore, I always feel you have to set the bar high for God's. What his view of you is where you should set that bar.
Absolutely.
Not from getting someone else to validate what they think or what they view of you. Because that when you look for that validation, you're like that parking ticket. You're about to devalue yourself and cheapen yourself because you're looking for someone else to do the building up and the encouraging. Because if you live for the cheers, you're gonna die by the boos.
True. That is true.
And that's real talk.
True. And this last thing, I remember hearing from one of the an also artist name is Fife Dog. He came from a tribe called Quest. I remember he made this quote. He said, "I don't need a statue to tell me I'm nice." You know what I mean? So it's like, so all the artists out there, poets, spoken word artists, of course you want to get, like looks when you like performing, but you don't want to be stuck in that. You know what I mean? Because let's say you have maybe like a few hundred or if that views, but you got people like Pharrell Williams, Tyler Correa looking at you. So, does the amount of views really matter if you got those people looking at you and even want to work with you? You know what I mean? So that's something to just, keep in mind. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Another question. I remember that you have mentioned photography. So how does how did you get into photography, and how does that add to your art, or does it?
Man, photography was kind of fun. Mind you, I got into photography back when film was a thing and disposable cameras.
Oh yeah, I remember that.
So
I remember
I
that.
had a lot of I had a lot of practice with that and have fun with it. I just had fun with it. I was taking pictures of everything from just the ground to the sky to whatever. But as I kind of got older, it gave me a new appreciation on life.
Okay.
Because photography highlights the details. What the thing about a camera is, it'll highlight your flaws just as much as your strengths.
True.
And so a lot of life lessons started to be learned through the art of photography, actually. And I kind of just, when I found that connection, then my appreciation for it grew. And then I would take, even with photography, I would take some of my friends who were very insecure about themselves, and I would encourage them to get in front of my camera. And to see how they reacted to the picture, because they're like, this looks so good. They don't usually see themselves that way, though. Right. So it's like this camera didn't make you look good. You were always this way. And so I love that about photography. And once I kind of like made that connection, it was just all uphill it was just all good from there. It was just like, man, I love photography. Now I kind of just do it, sometimes for business, sometimes just because, and it does add to my art as well too. Cause sometimes I'll take a picture and then I can write a poem based off that picture
That's what's
that
up.
I've captured. Yeah.
Okay. And I like what you said. You said you do it just because. You know what I mean? Just because like you love it. You know what I mean? Like expound on like, doing things like that just because you love it.
I always tell people when I stop having fun with it, I'm done with it.
That makes sense.
It's as simple as that, right? I no longer we all have had a job where we had to go to it, right? It wasn't the funnest, it wasn't the best, it wasn't the greatest, but it paid your bills, it made ends meet, and so you went. You didn't go because you enjoyed it. I don't want my hobbies to be that way.
That makes sense.
You know what I'm saying? Like if I got a job that's 9 to 5 and I'm like, yo, I really don't feel like going in today. I don't want to pick up a camera and be like, man, I really don't feel like taking pictures today. Or I don't want to pick up a pad and be like, man, I don't feel like writing today. So at that point, it's like when I stop having fun with it, I'm done with it. And it's just that simple for me. That's why it encourages me to do it more because I always have fun with it.
That's what's up. You know what I mean? And like I said before, like I'm against videography, and it's just that's something I just like grew to like have a love for, and plus I'm used to like taking pictures and recording stuff anyway. You know what I mean? Like when I just like get a digital camcorder so I could so I could like have a better view and like maybe make a little like side money with it. You know what I mean? Yeah. Just like learning, but then like the process of learning how to do it, I really find intriguing. Same thing I do with poetry. Like the more I watch poets express themselves using different type of wordplay, schemes and the art of storytelling, the more I saw it, the more I want to do it. And then when I start, writing it and performing it, the more I have fun with it. You know what I mean? Like like hobbies like that should never be. It should never be like the same way you view work. You know what I mean? Yeah. Because because you go work because you have to. You know what I mean? You should do your hobbies because you want to. You know what I mean? Like it's a difference. Excuse me.
Yeah. Major difference. Like I'm not trying to feel like I'm suffering or going through the motions when I'm trying to do something fun for myself or expressive for myself. I don't want to go through the motions. I just want to be in the moment. So absolutely.
Most definitely. You know what I mean? And last question, where can fans look for your work? I mean, like how can they see you? How can they see your work? Where can they find you at?
Well, definitely Lone Wolf _the artist. That is my Instagram name. That is where all my works go, from singing to photography to poetry and all of that. I do have some connections on Facebook as well. So I do a lot of things on Facebook as well. I do plan on having a business page for my Facebook. But for right now, it's just kind of like just my personal page. It's just Antoine Nathan. For those who want to add me, I kind of still add that, and I still use that as just my art page as well. I don't really use it for much else. Mm-hmm. So Antoine Nathan on Facebook, Lone Wolf _the artist. The artist is together. That's where they can find most of my work there.
Okay, that's what's up. You know what I mean? And before we head out, let me just ask you, how important is it for as an artist for you to learn the business that you're in? How important is that?
It's extremely important because one, it helps you see how far you've come, and two, it sees how far you have to go. I always like to be in that middle road. I see all the things I've accomplished. I see all the things that I've gotten. I've seen the attention that I've garnered, garnished and everything else. But how much further can I take it? How many people can I inspire through my art? How many people can I reach out to and touch and help them to express something that maybe they were quiet on, but I was able to break through and be their voice. I've always told people when I got into poetry too, it was not only to be a voice to myself, but it was to be a voice for the voiceless. So I love doing that. That's why I write on the topics that I write on often. And, again, just understand the ins and outs of it. I'm just now really learning how to connect. Like, this is the first podcast I've ever been on. So I'm just now learning how to connect with people that are in the same field as me. And not only that, but share the same love and joy that I get from doing this, right? So I've seen, Craig, so poetic. I've seen you, I've seen Coco, I've seen Hostage, I've seen, Professor Pros. So, all these people, and, shout out to Hype Queen too.
Oh, definitely Hype Queen. Shout out to Hype Queen.
Yeah, because she was the one that got me out the shell.
That's what's up. That's what's up.
Yeah, she's the one that got me out of my shell a little bit to be like, hey, kind of express yourself a little bit more, kind of get out there. And I was like, sure. So she was the first gateway, and then everything else kind of like flooded in. So big shout out to her as well.
Okay, definitely shout out to Hype Queen, and definitely shout out to all of the poets that we fellowship. Shout out to the Poetry Corner John, shout out to Hostage, shout out to CC Miller, shout out to Lex Diamonds, shout out to Hype Queen. Definitely shout out to Hype Queen. We definitely plan on having a Hype Queen as well, and
Coco for sure.
And definitely Coco. We love Coco last. Man, I'm telling you, that interview with Coco, I loved it. Thank you, Coco, for having me, and thank you for being on our podcast. And before anybody asks or DM me, we are trying to get Hostage for an interview. We are trying. I spoke with him before. He has a lot of things going on with with album or whatever, but we do plan on having him on the show. So shout out to Hostage. Definitely. You know what I mean?
Also shout out to my main man out in Philly, Darren Pop Griffin. He also got that heat as well.
Oh, then shout out to Pop.
Philly's own, so shout out to him, man.
Shout out to Philly
too. About that cat. One of the first guys I met when I started getting back into the whole poetry game. Him and my boy Jaquan Bennett. You know what I'm saying? Up in New York. Shout out to him as well. So those guys, man, those guys are heavy hitters too, man. They've come through and blessed the mic a few times, man, when I've performed and that sort of thing, man. So shout out to them as well. But yeah, man, much respect to Lone Wolf, man. Appreciate you for coming through.
Definitely, man. Definitely appreciate you coming through, and definitely appreciate you, Lone Wolf, man, for coming through the show, man. Give us your perspective on poetry and the things you write about. Definitely shout out to you, my brother. Shout out to all our fans, and once again, follow us on our social media pages: Facebook, Instagram, YouTube, and TikTok. Every weekend we have a poem challenge. We make poems out of random words. So definitely check us out on our Instagram page and our TikTok page for that. Follow us on everything. Poetic Vibez ENT. If you want to submit your poems to us so we can post it on our social media pages, hit us up at poeticvibesent@gmail.com. You know what I mean? So this is going to be the end of our show, but shout out to everybody who listens. Shout out to you, Lone Wolf, man, for coming through. You know what I mean? And big ups to our co-host Cypher. He couldn't make it today, but shout out to Cypher McFly, man. We're going hopefully we can have him on next month. All right, but thank you all for tuning in to Vibes at the Table podcast, and we'll check out next time. All right, want it.